whenever you do, you're the man.
We're doing the thing right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us again for our second week to top off our second week of the virtual Lunch and Learns. We have the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Montro with Keller Williams. Frank has been in the business for 37 years. Is that correct, Frank?
That is accurate.
Absolutely, man. You look good, bro.
Thank you.
Frank, you sell over 300 homes a year. That is correct as well, right?
That is absolutely correct.
All right. You have a team of 17 people.
That's roughly, at the moment.
Yep, that's roughly
at the moment, subject to change. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So Frank, we have about 12 buyers agents, a couple of wholesalers on there, and 3 admin. That correct?
You are correct, sir.
Okay, cool. So Frank, the whole point of this and having you here today is talk about is what we know you as is you're the investor guru, right? You're the man. If I'm ever thinking about running in a business that is primarily funded by investments and representing investors, I'm going to my main man, Frank Montro, right? So how does
you see the lights? You see the light, brother.
Yeah, I see the lights, right? So how does Frank Montro and team how do they approach investing? I mean, what's their mindset? What do you wake up every day and say?
Oh, what my mindset is? Okay, well, so all right, so that's a whole nother jury. Yeah, okay. So I'll touch on that, but yeah, I'll be more than happy. So, my big why is centered around my Savior, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I mean, without me starting off and not giving him credit, you're missing a valuable piece to my puzzle. I mean, everybody asks me what my big why is, and I'm like, well, it's Jesus. I mean, what possibly could be anything bigger than that? I mean, obviously my family is an extension, my job is an extension, everything's an extension, but my focus is that I've been giving this thing called life, this gift of life every day I wake up. The first thing that comes out of my mouth is, Jesus, thank you for this gift, and I'm going to dedicate my life to you today. Sorry, I get choked up because this is real, man. But I dedicate my life to you, Father. I'm going to give 100%, and my goal is to provide excessive value to anybody I run into, whether it's a buyer or a seller, streetwise person that needs the help or whatever. Somebody called me up, they need masks, so I hook them up with a connection through Home Depot. I mean, whatever, I'm going 150%. My hair's on fire. I'm not that guy. If you're looking for the guy that wakes up and says, man, I can't wait till it's bare 30, that's not me. Keep walking. That thing in the airport, keep walking. That's me, baby. Now, if you're looking to take it to the next level and you want to hang out with somebody with high energy, I'm your guy.
All right.
And so that's how I start my day off. So you want to know why my hair is on fire? It's because I appreciate what I've got. I understand. I put on that pair of glasses, and I encourage everybody to do that every day. Strengthen your why. Make it bigger than just money. It's not, when I first got in this business, I didn't know any better. I thought a job's a job. And then I realized after a while, I work my butt off and I get burnt out. I get burnt out for a month and I get back on track. And, when my big why is great, there is no burnout. There is no shut off. I have to calm myself down, man. I have to slow it down sometimes. It's crazy, bro.
Frank, I might start doing push-ups right now just listening to you on Zoom, my man. You are getting me pumped up.
Let's go, man. Let's go, man. Hey, Biden, Joe Biden's looking for somebody to get in the push-up contest. Maybe you can run him by him, man.
Man, I hope I could beat somebody in his 70s.
I know, right? I know. He looks pretty tough, man. I don't know. That's why I mentioned you instead of me.
All right. So, Frank, you're selling 300 plus units a year. How many of those are investment clients, roughly?
Roughly, it's now with my team, so roughly about 250, and the rest are I'm building a team. We're getting traction and doing some retail stuff. So in the mid twos.
So you're selling in the mid twos of investing with investor clients.
Yeah.
So
yes.
So there's a lot of people. There's 45 people on this call, and we're going to get more as they come in. if they want
Okay.
to, if they want to say, hey, walk us through how you do this, Frank Montro. Like
Mhm.
what if I want to do this? What
Right.
does Frank Montro say?
I would say, uh, go away. No, I'm just kidding. What I would what I would say is like so I speak at a lot of different investor groups, all the big organizations they have me in there. And so what I always tell like a new investor or a new rehabber or a new money a guy looking to use private money or a new realtor, I kind of give them I start off with an overview. So I said let's look at the business, what it really does. And there's basically three parts to the equation. There's the acquisition part, there's the rehab or the investment, rehabbing, revitalizing the property, and then there's the reselling part of it, or the if you're planning on holding on to it and renting, that's another thing that we're getting into now. We're selling more and more of those because a lot of the market is shifting, and a lot of investors uh, are seeing the profits shrinking. So there's more opportunities for them to buy them, but hold on to them. So let's start with
Yeah,
gang. Let's start with number one.
let's start with number
The
one. So
acquisition.
Frank, you here before you go there, you said, hey, my job is to find deals. This is what you said to me, and you said it with
Yeah.
conviction. You said, hey, listen, bro, I'm a finder, man. I go out there and
Yeah.
find deals for my people. That's what I do. So talk
So
to me about how Frank Montro does that.
yeah. So sure. So okay, we can start there. So basically, when I got out of college, I went to work for Arthur Anderson, and I met a manager, one of the managing partners there, and he told me, he said, "Hey Frank, if you're gonna make, congratulations, we're sitting in a room training in St. Charles," and he said, "You're in the top 1% in the country, everybody that's here, and we're only taking 1% of this room." I'm like, "Okay, you got my attention. What do I need to do to be that 1%?" And he said, "You need to be a finder, a minder, or grinder, and one of the three." Now, obviously, all three of them overlap to some degree. We're all hard workers, we're all minders of our business, and we're all grinders of our business. But you have to excel at one. And so I realized then, when I evaluated my past, that I was a finder. And so I try. I had no business being in accounting. And I loved Arthur Anderson. My experience was phenomenal with them. They're a great company. But when I got out, I took a personality test, and I would always recommend. So if you're an agent and you want to work with investors, you got to make sure you're lined up and doing the right thing. So when I got out, I found out I was a Type A personality, and I tested 99.9% as a high D personality. Surprise, surprise. And so also it came with a um, a list of jobs that I'd be really good at and jobs that I would be really bad at. And number 48 out of number 50 was accounting. And I was like, son of a, if I only, all this money. But then I thought, you know what? I got the corporate taste, and I realized it's not for me, and I'm cool. And up in the top was selling. And so I found out after a while when I merged that my personality with what I really love to do, which was finding. I started off with real estate as a buyer's agent, and I really enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun as that. Then I worked with a lot of sellers, and a lot of sellers started coming to me because back in the day, back when I was selling real estate, things were a lot different. Back in the prehistoric times, we had the MLS was a book, Joe. It was about 3 inches thick. Came out the beginning of the month. By the end of the month, you had no idea what was left out of the inventory in there. And then you had the Sun Times, and you had the Scout Trip, and that
Right.
was your form of communication, and signs. So I started selling up a storm. I mean, I was averaging back then with no experience, with no Keller Williams to guide me, with no shoes to bless me daily. I didn't have anything other than myself. I had no training, nothing. I got out and I learned the old-fashioned way. I just got on the street and I figured it out on my own. And probably the best thing that happened to me because I didn't get spoiled. And
And
so I'm hungry to this day because of that, because I know I got to go out and earn it. And I got out, and I eventually started working with investors because they all came to me. They said, "Who is this kid? He's selling everything in sight. What
right.
is he doing differently?" And so I had my own systems back then. But then I started working with investors, and then I realized that the part of the game that I really enjoy. I started rehabbing myself and doing reflips and all that jazz, but I realized what really got me motivated, what made the day fly by, what made this effortless was me just doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm brought here on this earth for a purpose, and I'm wired for a purpose. I'm wired to hunt, man. I'm that William Wallace on steroids, baby. So you just give me a, I don't have a spear and a horse,
Yeah.
I've got a phone and I got a phone in a car,
All right.
and they can't take away my freedom,
There.
my listings.
Frank, man, I might get a little picture of you on a horse and put some war paint on you, I think, and that will be our follow up here. So Frank, you're a finder, okay? You're a finder.
Yes.
You're a relationship builder.
Yes.
I know you do that, and that's what you do, and that's what you're saying. But how does someone do it? Like, meaning, like, if I'm an agent right now that's like, hey, listen, I'm really struggling getting into relationships. I'm really struggling doing this. I know naturally you know how to do it, but what advice would you give them? How do you find this stuff? How do you do these deals?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, you got to go find, it's like when you go out into Lake Michigan, if you don't have that radar deal, you're just winging it, right? And a lot of real estate agents just wing it. But what if you were to get the radar? So what is the radar for real estate agents? So, although things have come to a crash and halt right now, they will recover, rebound, and a lot of things will come back. But you can do a lot of things online. You can go to, and a lot of these groups are going virtual. So you need to find, where are the investors? The investors are on, you can go to Chicago Real Estate Meetup. Just Google that. And then start joining these groups and start interacting with these groups. Now, here's the thing, Joe, okay? Here's the thing. Investors are looking for something. So what is, everything is about excessive value, period. Don't complicate this thing. So you got to figure out what is excessive value to investors. Well, first and foremost, since it's difficult to find inventory would be number one. And number two, and could be number one for a lot of investors, is funding. So a lot of these hard money lenders are pausing right now, right? Now, right. I do my homework. I mean, I spend an hour a day talking to these hard money lenders. And so I know which ones are on and which ones are off, which ones are still lending, which ones are pausing. Right. And, right. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to give away the ship, but I'll throw one gem out there today for everybody. Okay. Lincoln Way Bank in New Lenox, Dave Galbraith's. Lincoln Way Bank is lending to investors, and they will lend all over, including the South Side. I think he's, don't quote me today, but when I talked to him the other day, it was 7.25, and I think there was like a point or point and a half, something like that. So that's pretty good money for hard money.
So
here,
Frank,
yeah, what you want to do?
Hold on, Frank, before you go there. So you built these relationships with these people, okay?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Who are, if I'm an agent on this call right now, who are those people that I want to build relationships with? You mentioned bankers, right?
Yeah. Okay. So yes, you want to find money. So, okay.
Ooh,
so you want to find money and investors.
All right.
So you can get first of all, you can get money. You can lend your own money, which my partner and I do. You can get friends and have tap into 401ks and get them a return on their money there. You can go to these meetup groups, these investor meetup groups, Bigger Pockets. There's always resources. You can Google Chicago hard money lenders, Illinois hard money lenders, right. And start. You got to do your home. Here's the thing, guys. Everybody sees these Chicago Deed, all these groups, fortune builders, all these people hold these big checks and everything, and that is all fantasy. For the most part, are there home runs out there? Yes. Is it easy? No. If you're looking for an easy way, what was that thing I said at the beginning? Oh yeah, keep walking. Keep walking. If you're looking for an easy way, this is not it. Now, if you're willing to work hard and you enjoy working hard and you enjoy helping people, then this might be your spot. This
So
may be your destination.
so Frank, that's okay. So that's the first part of it, right? Is finding the money. Then now,
Yeah.
how does Frank Montro find the inventory?
Great question. You know, I just so happen to
Well,
have
that was
my
from
my
Asher
trusty
Carter. That was
notepad.
not from me.
Whoa, what a surprise, right? So I wrote this down, so I wanted to cover like areas that I go look for. And let me just preface this by saying, um, first and foremost, everything that I mention on here has a shelf life on it. So you think that everybody's shocked about the shift now? My market is shifting all the time. Rates are going up and down. These areas I'm mentioning where you find properties, sometimes they have a bunch in, sometimes they've got nothing. So you have to be committed to be checking these sources on a regular basis, some of them on a daily basis. So obviously there's the MLS, but obviously the MLS, the inventory is way down. So that's driven people to go to other places. So I mean, I'll just start off. I go to all the auction sites. The main ones that we go to are auction.com, Zome, Hubzu, Hubson and Marshall, Williams and Williams, HUD, and VA. And like I said, you can go any day of the week and go to another day, and you think you typed the wrong website. Sometimes they're hot, sometimes they're not. You have to stay on these things. And some of these groups, once you get involved in it, they have a VIP list. Once they get to know you and you start doing business with them, the VIP list is properties that are off market. You're able to grab them either before they go to the actual auction, or it's just a total separate site as well too. So that's a fun thing. Once you start getting involved in it and you move up the ladder, you get access to more, to more things.
More stuff.
Another thing is the wholesalers. So you want to, and a lot of these wholesalers go to all these different meetings. They go to all the big investment group areas in the Chicago RIAs, the Fortune Builders, all those groups. And you, like I said, you research online, you find the groups, and you connect with them, and you tell them who you are, and you got to proactively work the room if there's a meeting, or virtually, you got to virtually proactively, work the room.
Hey,
I talk.
Frank, do you personally do seminars as well? So you're saying attend
No,
those
well,
seminars.
here's the deal. I do so many seminars for these guys that I don't have to. So I mean, what I do is I go to the seminars and I speak like Andrew Holmes's 3-day event is his big event. He has 3 days a year. I'm either the closing speaker or I'm on a panel with Ryan Smith, who's the top REO broker in the Chicagoland area. So what happens is I get full access to to all these people, and they all come flying up to me, and I end up getting relationships for free. I do so many of these events. You can only do so much, as far as me, taking the time to plan it and do all, and do all that extra stuff. I get enough. I have so many investors now. That's why I'm building a team. I have so many investors now, I can't keep up with it. It's insane. Let me tell you something, guys. There is so much business out there. If you are broke, if you are struggling, I'm gonna see what I just did. I took off my pair. I want you to take off your glasses, or pretend you got a pair of glasses and put them on now and look through and tell yourself there is a ton of business out there, because there is. You're not looking the right way. There is always business. If the economy's down, there's business. The economy's up, there's business. Now, we all know when the economy's up, there's business. What a lot of us don't know, because we've been sold a false bill of goods. We've been taught to drink the potion of fear. Now, let me, Joe.
Yeah.
If I handed you a cup and I said, "Hey, this is hydrochloric acid in here. It's poisonous. It's going to burn your insides out," would you drink it? Absolutely not.
No.
However, I mean, if there's been times, and I'm just as guilty as well too, where a thought will come in my mind, and I allow it to rest in my brain and multiply. And we all have done that, and that's fear. We've all bought into fear. But all fear is doing is believing in your failure. And
Right.
once you understand, part of the problem is, here's an example. Like I do my huddles every morning now. That's something that germinated out of this thing, which is the best thing. One of my agents called me back. He says, "Man, I just can't believe how calm and excited you are." He said, "It's just it's so encouraging." Well, calm, I guess, but calm in okay.
Yeah.
So let's rephrase that. Not panicky. Okay.
Yeah.
He says, you don't panic. You don't.
Calm.
I said, bro, I've been to this dance 5 times, man. I've been to this, and I'm still alive. I'm still ticking, baby, and
Right.
I'm still crawling. Let me tell you something. Everybody is going to make it through this, and the one thing that I know for sure, every bottom has a great recovery.
Yeah.
Every tragedy has a great rebound, and I'm
Right.
telling you, the rebound's going to be great. So the question really is, Joe, is, did you get off the bus, or are you on the bus and you're moving forward? Now, granted, guys, the directions of the bus changes directions. So, are you going to change directions with a bus or not? There's other opportunities out there now. You have to find them. My agents are starting to get it. They're starting to talk the way I talk. You need to look for your highest ROI activity and do your highest ROI activities every step of the way.
Every
This
day.
isn't,
And yours, and yours is finding deals, correct? Finding
finding deals, man.
All right.
This stuff changes, man. So we got auctions, wholesalers. Another great place to get wholesalers is go on to Facebook. There's so many different Chicago rehab, Chicago wholesale real estate. I mean, just start playing in Facebook. Just start typing in Chicago real estate, Chicago rehab, Chicago wholesale. There's so many different groups, and there's so many people with properties on there. Baby, this stuff is for free, man. There's no $19.99 a month kind of thing going on. This stuff is free, man.
Right.
But you know what it takes? It takes a commitment to you get beyond it every day. Because again, sometimes some days there's hot properties, some days there's garbage properties. Then there's garbage properties. Then there's garbage properties. Then there's a hot property. And if you're not on this thing 24/7, everything Frank says is a lie. It's not. I said, if you tell me that you just tell me you're lazy and you're not on it 24/7. You got to be on this stuff 24/7, and you'll find the deals, man. Because this stuff goes fast, man. Yes.
Have you ever thought you'd be a preacher at one point in time in your life, or is just what you got going on here, man?
I was actually. So one summer back in the day, I street preached in Brooklyn, New York I went and volunteered for a church, and they like me, and they like the way I talk, so they threw me out in the streets, bro.
Who doesn't like you, Frank? So Frank,
right.
Frank, you're essentially I mean, I see. My visual of you is like you're in front of like screens. You're like a day trader with real estate. Is that?
That you know what that I never heard of that before. That's a phenomenal. That is a phenomenal analysis of me, analogy of me, because I don't do. I've got people doing the street work. I'm either in meetings or I'm in front of the screen, or I'm up on stage, or I'm doing this thing, the Zoom thing. But here's the beauty of it is. The beauty of it is I can sit, I'm really not doing much difference at all. I'm sitting in the chair making stuff happen, bro. I'm behind, people, one agent says, you sell more houses behind that desk than anybody I know out in the field. So I enjoyed that. I got a kick out of that analogy. So just we ready to jump back into some of these and just kind of quickly run through them.
Yeah, I got some. Okay, keep going.
Okay.
I got some for you too, Frank. So keep going.
Okay, cool. All right, let me just kind of run through these. So I don't want to auctions, chase the wholesalers, get involved in hit the Chicago tax sales, get involved in tax sales. There's plenty of properties. That's a lot more complicated. The city, every city has an abandonment program too. So that's another thing that you can investigate. And we've bought a ton of properties through Dalton through the abandonment program. You'll be surprised how many, even City of Chicago has an abandonment program. It's tricky. You got to get the right attorney to do it. There's a bunch of nonprofits out there. Everybody knows Cook County Land Bank. There's a bunch of other ones out there that have access to off-market properties. If you want to chase pre-foreclosures, you want to look at the thing I would recommend for pre-foreclosures is look for stuff. Look for high equity. So go to these. There's websites like Chicago Deal Vault. You can join that, and they have they'll have pre-foreclosures, and you can put in the equity. So let's say I don't want to chase anything with it, unless it has at least 50% equity. So you can plug that in, and they'll have all the resources. And then then you take True People Search, and you track people down. True People Search. This is another fun fact by Frank Montro. True People Search is a free search. If you haven't been using that, then you need to get up with the times, baby. And so you can get your pre-foreclosure list, get your True People Search, and go to work, man. Start calling them, start door knocking. But you got to come with some funds, and you got to come with with a plan. You just knock on the door and you're fresh out of high school and you don't know what you're doing. You're not going to get too far. So you got to have come with some value, with some excessive value. You can go to your banks directly as well too. So you got a relationship with a local bank. A lot of these smaller local banks take back their properties, and they're always looking. So make sure that that your bank, you're looking for this, so you're actively involved in this, and make sure you let your banker know. Agents, man, I talk to agents all the time. As a matter of fact, anybody here wants to call me. We're always looking for inventory. I can't be everywhere. If you see a good deal, I don't know about it, even if it's on the MLS, we'll buy it. You can be our buyer's agent on the buy, and then we take over from there. But we're always looking for deals. So if you see a deal and you know that, hey, the seller, told me that they'll take X amount of dollars, and you have permission to tell me that, by all means, call me and say, hey, I know this thing's listed for $100,000. It's way overpriced, but my seller told me he'll take a $50,000 cash buyer and told me to go out and sell it. So are you interested? Hell to the yes. Sorry for you swearing.
All right.
Anyways,
hey, Frank, let me
I know I got shoes.
Frank, let me pause you there for a second, because there's people here that have some questions, and I want to make sure I get to them, because I got about 15 minutes left with you. Okay. Ashley Carter wants to know, how do you make money with the wholesaler?
So the wholesaler will sign a contract, right? And then they will assign it. So then that is all done on that end. So I bring my buyer and I say to my buyer, hey, I've got an off-market property, and I'm just gonna plug and play here with numbers. So I've got this property in the Gold Coast at ABC 123 ABC State Street, and they want 50,000 for it. Okay, I need 3,000 for my end. Is this a deal for you? So that's how we do it. And then the buyer pays me the $3,000 at the closing, and we run it through Keller Williams, because it is a commission, and it's not something that I pocket on my side. So that's how I make money through the transaction. And then if they decide to flip it, then I get the listing.
All right, that's awesome, Matt. Now that's awesome. Thanks, Frank. Now Matt's asking me. He says, hey, Frank, when you find a hot property, do you need to write an offer sight unseen? It seems that way. Is that accurate?
So that's a great question. So that's an excellent question. So what you're going up against is there's a group. I don't really want to mention their name, but only because that what they do is they have a system with alerts, and there's a couple of them, so whatever, so like Click Invest has a system where they have alerts, and Deal Vault is the same thing. So they alert they alert you when a property is on the market, so right away. So Deal Vault or Click Invest they will instantly tell you, like, they'll give you some estimated numbers of what the property is worth, what it should sell for, and so forth. Now, without seeing the inside, you take a risk. However, when people buy properties at the sheriff's sale, which is another thing I was going to get to, a lot of times you're buying the property sight unseen. So every once in a while you get burnt. You walk in after closing, and the ceiling in the basement's only 5 feet. So now you got to dig down, 2.5 feet, and it's another 25,000. Or the attic space is only 6'2", so you need to tear off the top, and now you've got another 40 to 60,000 expense. So those are some of the risks that you take, and that's not the only risk, because then you could have some foundation issues and so forth. But yeah, for the most part, it's so competitive out there. If you see a really good deal, people are writing. The problem is this: like some of these organizations, they will write, and then they'll cancel after they get inside. So all they're doing is tying up the price. So what happens is, let's say you legitimately look inside, and by the time you get to you're writing your contract the next day, it's gone because this other organization came in and they tied it up sight unseen, so they have an unfair advantage. And then within 10 days, they get in there, they don't give any earnest money up, and they delay. Then they come waltzing in and they look at the property like, oh wow, man, this doesn't work. I didn't realize that, this isn't what we thought it was. It doesn't look like the pictures, or it's not really what they said it was. So we're backing out of the deal. Now that group has had the opportunity to tie the property up for 5-10 days, however long that they've carried it on, and you or they tie it up and they get it. They get it before, but it's almost kind of an unfair advantage when they do that. So yes, I would say you have to, it depends on how desperate, for lack of a better word, but how bad does your client want a property,
right.
And how much, what's the supply and demand? Do they have all these resources? Are they getting properties every day? Do they have, is this the last one they'll see for 2 months? Well, yeah, then they got to take a risk.
So Frank, my main man, Keller Williams, Chicago, Lincoln Park, Brian Moon said,
yes, sir.
He says, hey, Frank, when you say local banks, can you give some examples? What do you mean by local banks? Give some examples.
Well, like smaller banks, like any kind of community bank, Joliet Community Bank, Lincoln Way is a smaller bank. I'm not talking about the big box banks, not the Chases or the Bank of Americas, nothing like that. I'm talking about more of your smaller local community banks.
Okay.
I would go, or whoever, or if you bank at a big bank, like I bank at Chase, I go into my private banker and say, hey, dude, hook me up with this, or hook me up, or who else do you know? What other bankers do you know? What other companies do you know? I mean, you got to exhaust your referral business.
So you're out asking that question. Who do you know? All right, Jess.
Everybody, man, everybody. I'm asking you guys right now, man. Bring it to me, man. I'll
bring them over.
Bring me properties, man. I'll get you paid, bro. Come on.
Yeah. All right. So Jess from our office are asking you, how does Frank determine areas, neighborhoods, and locations to deem worthy to present to investors? And does he go off his gut, opportunity areas, etc.? What do you do to deem these areas worthy?
Well, so that is a great question, and it's not. I can read you some. Like I wrote down some areas on the South Side, if you want to read that up. But I'll tell you. But here, let me answer this question. There is no easy answer. Like I'm literally my partner's literally a walking encyclopedia. He's on the streets 24/7. You can give him an address. The other day, an attorney referred an address to us. So he calls my partner up, and he says, "Hey, the address is like, I don't know what it was, 6445 Claremont." And so my partner said, "Is that the house with the overgrown?" He named a tree, and this guy looked at my attorney Gary and looked at him like, "What the heck? How does he know that?" I mean, he even said the type of tree that was on the front of the property. And he goes, "Is that the house you're talking about?" And the guy goes, "Yeah." He goes, "What's it worth?" And so my partner, see, now we have an experience, so we know where the areas are. And the one way you can do it is you can track successful people and follow success. Success leaves clues, and so does failure. The one problem with that, though, also is it gets a little bit more. It gets very, very detailed. When I can go straight into, it's not only the area, but sometimes it's block by block. Sometimes the same house on the outside is not the same house on the inside. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of moving parts, and I can come back and go jump into that and more in detail. I know I only got 8 minutes left, but I mean, I'd love to come back and talk about how to buy right. But I would say in general, to answer his question in general, start looking at, start studying the MLS, mm-hmm. and see what people are buying properties for, and where they're buying, what blocks they're buying them on. You need to look at,
Do your homework.
Just because, well, yeah, you got, sometimes schools are, you got two different school districts in the same town. You could have Homewood Flossburg schools, which are some of the best in the state, and Bloom, which is some of the worst in the state, in the same town. So there's a lot of things you got to look at taxes when you get in the suburbs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues, but yeah, I would say
you're looking at all the variables, right, Frank? I mean,
but okay, yeah. To get started, so here to get started, if you're serious about this, young man or old man, whatever, middle-aged man, whoever you are, I can't remember. I didn't get your last name, so I don't know yet. So, anyways, so whoever you are out there, young, old, new.
This is Jess. This is a young woman in our market center. So go on. Go
okay, forward. Young lady. Sorry, young lady. So, ma'am, I would suggest that you start studying. Follow the people that are successful, and see where they're buying, and see start educating yourself that way. Education is critical, and that's free. You can go right online and you can take let's say, hey, I want to be the expert at Portage Park in Albany Park. I live there, so let me start and get to know an area, get to know the area cold, and become an expert in whatever area. Let's see, whatever area you designate you want to work with investors, then become that expert, man. And you can't do it. You can do it when you study. You can go back and see what they bought it for, and see what the property's traded for. That's the easiest way, and it's a lot of work.
Frank, I got a question on that. Okay, so this is awesome, right? And it's study, and it's becoming the expert and stuff like that. This isn't hey, this doesn't happen overnight, right? So we live in an efficient world today, right? And everyone wants instant gratification. If someone were to come, like I know some of these people on this call saying, yeah, I really want to get into investing. I really want to get into, representing investors. How long does that take? How long does it take to become an expert?
Well,
if they do,
it depends. Let me go deal basis, okay? Because you can be, so I know some people have been in the business for a year and they've done nothing. So let's say I would go more from a deal basis, Joe. I would say that you'd have to have at least 5 to 10 deals under your belt before you walk out of the fog. Because until you have and I'm talking about your hands on, you're showing up, you're acting, asking questions. So when you find a deal for an investor, you talk to the contractor, you get an idea of what. I would say, hey, to the contractor, hey, what if I were to buy you lunch, the whole crew lunch one day, and you kind of walk me through and explain to me what, give me an hour of your time, explain to me like how much you pay for these items, and what's these windows cost, how much money's in this, invest a little bit in the business. And I tell you what, you show a little gratitude, a little love toward people, and people love to talk about themselves, and they love to help, man. And so, yeah, you can accelerate that, but it's really not a time frame. It's more of a experience comes with doing it.
Yeah.
And I mean, a third of my clients are real estate agents, because and this is before the real estate requirement was, because of our knowledge base. Right. And and you really, the more you get to know, the more people are going to recognize you and are going to want to do business with you.
Yeah, they're going to go to you, right? Because you're the master, right? You got this. Hey, Sierra, I'm going to get to your questions, by the way, right at the end. So I just want to let you know that. And Tommy, I'll end with yours. But do you have a simple metric to determine if the margins work? This is from Matt. Example: you need to be able to sell this for X more than the purchase price. Do you have a simple metric?
Okay. So here's I'll go as simple as possible. So whenever I look at a property, I determine what the value is. I determine what the ARV is, and that I almost need to come back to explain how to do that, because it gets really technical. Because there's a lot of values, a lot of pluses and minuses for ARV. I could talk about appraisals, and there's and dive into that. So first thing we do, Matt, is we start at the ARV. We figure out what the back end value is. Once you nail that, then you figure out how much the carrying charges are going to be. So let's say, So you want to figure out what your rehab cost is going to be. So let's say we got a $200,000 house, and the rehab's $50,000, and your your carrying charges in the deal are going to be X amount of dollars. So you got to pay for, you're borrowing your money. You got to pay for your buying costs, your selling costs, your how much it costs to carry the deal, what the charges are every month for maintenance costs. So you want to figure all that out. And then before you figure out your acquisition, what you're willing to pay for it, you got to ask your client, what kind of return do you want? You want a 15% return? You want a 20% return? So then you factor that return in, and then you can say, okay, so my client's going to buy it at 200. Let's say the carrying charges are. I'm just going to pick a number. Okay, so 200,000 subtract 20,000 for carrying charge. I'm down to 180. Okay, then let's say the rehab's 50. Now I'm down to 130. And then let's say my client's got to make $50,000. I'm not going to figure out the whatever percentage. Just for time's sake, 130 minus 50 is 80. So now, what am I missing? Did I tell the pro? I went. Sorry, did I figure the profit and everything in there? I think so. Anyway, so once you subtract out your acquisition, your carrying charges, your rehab cost, and your profit margin, then that's how much you're willing to pay for the property. You will pay up. Let's say that number is 50,000, and let's say they're offering 35,000. You're like, great, this is well underneath our prices. The asking price is well underneath what we're willing to pay. So if we get into a highest the best, we might say to the guy, hey, look, you said from the beginning you're willing to pay the 50 grand. We're in a highest and best. Do you want the property? Then let's just throw caution and win, and we're gonna offer 50,000. We're just gonna be all in. Or hey, look, there's no there's nobody else bidding on this property. Let's offer 32,000 and see if we get it.
Awesome. All right, cool. Thank you for that, Frank. All right, so I'm gonna end here, and then we're gonna ask you, Frank, at the end. We're not ending here. I'm gonna ask this the last question from Tommy Choi, but your boy TC. But Frank
Hey.
Montro, at the end of this, would you mind sharing your contact information? Because Sierra in our
sure,
office,
yeah, of course.
yeah,
of course.
awesome. She'd like to reach out and ask you some questions. So you're getting a lot of reviews here and a lot of praise for your energy, my man. And our Josh Weinberg just ran through a wall a couple minutes ago. But Tommy Choi says, what I love about Frank is his energy and passion is fueled by his big why. In 2011, I met Frank for the first time, and he shared his why of a story when he helped one of his clients' friends purchase a home who she thought couldn't qualify to buy, and he made it happen. Frank, can you share that story? Because he thinks it's so important to remember what brought us into the industry during uncertain times like this.
Yeah, sorry, I always tear up when I tell the story, and so just bear with me, okay? So I was showing this house to this lady, to this couple, and they're like, oh, wow, this is, we're going to build an army. We're going to have 5 kids. It's only 2-bedroom house. I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. But they love the rehab, blah, blah, blah. So I'm looking over at this lady. I'm like, hello, this is your home, right? And she goes, yes. She goes, I'd love to get this home. But keep in mind, this is a while ago. This is back in like 87. And she goes, back before you peoples were born. Okay?
Yeah.
So the lady says, my banker says I can't get it because I'm a single mom. And I'm like, I tell you what, I said, you like me? She goes, oh yeah, like you're a funny guy. And she goes, then I said, okay, well, do you trust me? She goes, yeah, I do. I said, we're going to go to my banker and we're going to get you this home. This is your home, okay? And I'm going to get you the loan. I'm going to make sure you get it. We good? She goes, yeah. And I said, oh, wait a minute. I did the Columbo thing, walking away, I turn around. I said, one more thing. I said, there's a final document. It's called a RESPA. I'm going to make an extra copy of it. We're going to go to your banker down the street here, and I'm going to wrestle and hold him down to the ground, and you're going to shove that RESPA up where the sun don't shine. You good with that? We're friends for life, man. We're friends. I got her the house. She came out of the closing, and she looked up to God. And, somebody that's uneducated, that just didn't know, just needed some real guidance. And she looked up, she had tears coming down her eyes, and she just said, thank you. And that put things in perspective for me. then I said, you know what? I found my spot, because I was helping people and I enjoyed what I was doing, but I felt like I needed another level to be, so I can really get that. And so now I see where I can provide excessive value by, through educating people. So since that, I've been relentless with knowing, learning these credit repair programs, learning where all these grant programs are. I'm just obsessed with this stuff, because that moment just was one of my aha moments in life, where it just really helped me understand I'm here for a purpose,
Frank
and I'm gonna
Montro,
get it, man.
that's
I'm
an
gonna get it,
awesome
man.
story, man, and you're an inspiration. We love that you're out there impacting us all. How do people get a hold of you, my man, if they wanna talk to you?
So my cell phone is 708-307-0777. Again, that's 708-307-0777. Or you can, call or text me. If I'm, a lot of times I'm in meetings, but, texting is probably the faster way. But, the best time to reach me is like between 4:30 to 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm usually nobody's, blowing my phone up,
Hey,
or after
you and I
six
communicate a
o'clock.
lot at 4:30 in the morning, Frank. It's phenomenal.
We do, bro. We
I
do.
love
Yeah,
it.
I
I
love it,
love it.
man.
I love it.
I love I love it when somebody gives me a call 4:30 in the morning. I
Yeah.
had somebody call me from a one of those investor groups at 4:30 in the morning, and
Yeah.
so I started talking. He goes, yeah, he goes, I just wanted to call to see if you really did that. I said, okay, well, cool, man. Well, how can I
Yeah.
help you? He goes, you can't. I just, I was just in the meeting. I just
On
want
the
to call.
call and
Okay,
check.
thanks a lot. Okay, that's it, dude.
You
I
tell him,
said,
go back to bed now.
go. I said, yeah. I said, go away.
Go
It's like,
back to bed.
yeah,
Frank
right. Go back
Montro,
to bed.
you
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
be
yeah.
respectful of everyone's time. We appreciate
Okay,
you so
brother.
much. Thank you so much. You are the man. Guys, thanks everyone for coming. We
Thanks, guys.
appreciate you again. Nico,
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you
yeah,
for
no
having
problem.
lunch during our Lunch and Learn. We appreciate it. You guys, we are back on Monday. All right. We are back on it
All right,
Monday at
guys.
noon. We have Emily Fair and Kevin Hinton are going to drop some serious noise on us on Monday. So be ready, guys. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Stay home. Love you guys.
See you guys. Take care.